Hi, I'm Psiman, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a small collection of Sega Master System games that are going to form the foundation of not a large collection, but a very targeted collection on two subsets of Master System titles. These are games that I've picked up over the years, and I haven't bought, I don't think, any or very little retro in the time that I was in the UAE. I think maybe a couple of times when I popped back in the summer to the UK, I picked up a few things, but on the whole, I haven't really been into retro. It's all been modern focused for the last 4 years. But now I'm back in the UK. Retro gaming and retro collecting is one of the things I really want to get into. Now, I'm not really interested, in fact, I'm not at all interested in any kind of system complete collections. As much as I love the Master System, I don't want to have a complete collection for it. It's just not really of interest to me. I'm much more focused on picking up titles that are kind of the notable titles for the system. And in this case, building a collection of games that have the most nostalgic value to me. And it just so happens that those games are all of the ones from the early year or year and a half of the Master System's life, or at least in the UK. And it just so happens that all of those games have terrible box art. I mean, really bad. Well, let's look at the first example from this pile, which is the pile of games that are, they're kind of okay. Most of them I probably wouldn't keep if it weren't for the fact that they have terrible box art, and I love it. Whereas these ones over here, these are all games that I still love to play to this day, and even if I wasn't building a Master System collection per se, just buying games that I like, these would be all ones that I would have to have. But starting on this side, we've got Afterburner. Now, not really a fantastic title by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, look at this art as well. It's really bad. I mean, this looks like something that I could have drawn when this was released, when I was 12 years old. It really does look like a kid's artwork. And even at that time, I knew this was bad, but I still liked it. In fact, all of them. It's something to do with the uniformity of the collection, of them having the same white paper, square checkered lines on it, and a bad picture. But strangely, even at the time when they were released, I thought these are like the future. They seemed very futuristic, which to me seems kind of nonsense today, but I still really like them. So even though I've got a lot of memories of Afterburner, but I don't really love it, I would probably still have it in my collection just for the nostalgia factor, but it's not one that I want to keep to play. But bad box art, it's going to stay. A couple more games that I don't really enjoy, but again, terrible art. Super Tennis and World Grand Prix. In fact, World Grand Prix, I've barely played it. I've really got no interest in that one. A couple of titles that I do like a bit more are Transbot. Maybe it's something to do with the Optimus Prime ripoff on the cover and the fact that it's like a poor man's Sidearms, which is a game that I really like. And this little platform title, Teddy Boy. And I obviously like it so much that I've got 2 copies of it, because this one is on the second subset of games, or in the second subset of games that I want to collect, and that is the Sega cards. For some reason, I really like this media format. Having a game, I mean, it just seemed, again, so futuristic when these came out, like a tiny little, even smaller than a credit card. there's a game on there. That, to me, just blew my mind. And to be honest, they weren't the best games. I mean, there's a couple of games on the card format that are actually good, and one of them's over here. But the other couple that I've got, I mean, F-16 Fighter, if it weren't on card and it didn't have bad box art, I wouldn't be that interested in having it. In fact, I would be completely uninterested in having it in my collection. And another game here, not too bad, a poor man's Vigilante, My Hero, also in the card format. So aside from Hang On, which came with my my Sega Master System back when I got it in, I think, 1987, these are the only Sega cards that I've got. And there's not a big collection of those. I think 8 or 10. I know Super Tennis and Transbot are both in that collection. I believe the Ninja, I think the football game, the soccer game, I think that might be in there. Definitely Spy versus Spy, and the first game over here, which I'll talk about in a second. So before all of these fall over, let me just put them back over here. Okay. So yes, the game that's also on Sega card, but I can't really afford to buy it because it's, well, I suppose, no, I could buy it, but 35, 40 pounds sounds like a lot of money for something that you can pick up on cartridge for £5. And that's Bank Panic. And I do really, really like this game. And I wish I'd bought it 5 or so years ago when I could pick the card up for around about 15 to 20 pounds. But it seems, and it is, so expensive when you consider £5 or so, what it was for this, 15 to 20 pounds just to have it on that card. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but I still want it. Another wonderfully bad bit of box art here, and someone has actually drawn it on it, not me, so I'm going to have to get another copy of this at some point in the future. But Secret Command, a Commando rip-off, but I really like it. I didn't own either of these games back in the day. I had a good friend who had a much larger Sega Master System collection than me, which was not difficult because I only had a handful of titles. Another one that he had that I borrowed from time to time was Action Fighter, basically a spy hunter kind of clone, a top-down racing shooter. Brilliant game. Well, I wouldn't say it's brilliant. I mean, come on. Objectively, I don't think any of these games are brilliant, but they are, for me, they're wonderful and a lot of fun. And Action Fighter, a lot of good memories connected to that one, along with Fantasy Zone 1 and Fantasy Zone 2. Beautiful, colourful graphics, side-scrolling, shoot 'em up in a very colourful world. And I believe that it's actually the same Fantasy Zone that is mentioned in my favourite game of all time and my favourite Sega Master System game, Space Harrier. And aside from Hang On that came with my Master System, this is the first game that I got for the system, obviously. You know, I liked it that much. I was so wowed by the arcade machine when I saw it back in 1986 on holiday, that as soon as I found out there was a home system that was going to have, well, not arcade perfect, but a passable port of that game, I had to have the system for that. I mean, it's kind of crazy to want what would have been, I mean, it must have been about £100 for the system back then, and another £25 for the cartridge, which was a lot of money back in 1986 or 87. But I just had to have it. Unfortunately, none of these games are ones that I picked up or I owned back in the day. I sold my Master System to buy a Mega Drive, I believe, and all of the games with it. But very happy to have these ones, and also very happy to have Outrun again, another title I didn't own, but I picked this one up a few years ago and was really pleased. I think I paid about £10 for this, but it's in excellent condition, and the booklet, I mean, is in really good condition. It looks, I mean, apart from a few scuffs on the cartridge, it looks almost like it's brand new. So where do I go from here? Well, there are a few more titles that I'd love to add to this, and I've got a couple of them only on cartridge, and these two probably represent my number 2 and number 3 favourite Sega Master System games. So it does seem a bit of a tragedy that I don't own. Tragedy? God, that's an over-exaggeration, isn't it? It's a shame that I don't own both of these, but I will do soon. I will get a complete boxed copy of Choplifter, very close to Space Harrier in my list of favourite Sega Master System games. I can just keep coming back to playing this again and again, and it never gets old. And that is then followed by Zillion, just a wonderful platform game. It's a bit like, I guess, if you had Mission or Impossible Mission and you had guns in it, that would be Zillion. And neither of these games are expensive, £10 to £15 to get a boxed complete copy of those. So they will be first on my shopping list, closely followed by slightly more expensive, about £20 to £30 a boxed complete copy of Quartet, which brings back a lot of memories. Again, a game that I didn't have, but a game that I used to borrow off a friend and play and love. So there we have it, my collection of Sega Master System games with terrible box art. And as I said, this is going to form the foundation of my collecting focus going forward, at least to begin with. There are other systems that I'd like to pick up notable titles for, but I'll focus on that at a later date. I want to get a few more Sega Master System games because they bring me a lot of joy. I really do love getting my hands on one of these games, putting it into the Master System and giving it a bit of a spin. It just, the wave of nostalgia that comes flooding back from playing these early titles, and to have these displayed on a shelf that I can see anytime that I go into the games room, and to just pick one or two of them off to play from time to time, I think will be a worthwhile investment and something to build for the future. But maybe you think I'm nuts, because it is it is illogical, I think, to build a collection based on pictures that are on the cover, because I could just buy a job lot of really poor quality Sega Master System games just to get the cases, and then colour copy print out the inserts and put those in there, stick them up on the shelf, and I could, I guess, then play the games on some form of emulation. But I don't know why. I just want to have the real games. And I suppose most of you are retro collectors, so you'll know where I'm coming from. But as always, I'd like to hear what you think. Let me know, do you like the Master System? Do you have a big collection of Master System games? Are there favourite titles that you would like to have from it? Do you have any focus at the moment for your collecting goals? I'd really love to hear about that stuff. So I think I've waffled on for quite long enough. Thank you very much for watching. From my games room to wherever you are, this is Psiman signing off. Bye-bye.